Yo, what's up, guys? It's Dom. You're tuning in to Talks with Dom, where we touch on serious topics that dives into the creator within. Over time, the goal is to help each and every one of you partaking in this transformation to better understand who and where you are on your journey. So let's chop it up, man. Right? So we're on to point 14, right? Attachment to fear. We want to make this point really wrapped around an example of a filmmaker, basically going through three lenses, right? The first lens is going to be what anger makes you see, right? Understanding how you notice certain things, right? Your perception when you're basically going through the emotion of anger. Lens two, what anger makes you create against, right? So when you see, when you're in that emotion, right, and you're pointing that emotion towards something, right, there's certain things that you can create against. So let's just say like something that's saying that you can't do one thing, right, but you're creating against that, um, creating ways of how you can, creating ways of how this perspective should be like this, right? And then we're going into lens three, right? What anger makes you become, right? What anger makes you become attached to. That's actually the one, right? So lens one, what anger makes you see. Lens two, what anger makes you create against. And lens three, what anger makes you become attached to, right? So lens one, what anger makes you see. Anger can alter the creator's sensitivity, right? It can sharpen their ability to notice contradiction, injustice, limitation, disrespect, hypocrisy, or whatever specifically provokes them, right? So going into the things that you notice, the things that you see, right? So contradiction, injustice, limitation, disrespect, hypocrisy, or whatever specifically provokes you, right? These are things that you are, these are things that are sticking out to you. These are the things that once you get into this emotion of anger, right? Your mind aligns to these things rather more than not because of the way that you feel, right? The way that you're feeling within this period of time, right? Anger begins influencing. Anger begins influencing what that sensitivity selects, right? So you're sensitive to more things that are sprung towards you, that are sprung out towards you when you're feeling angry, right? Imagine a filmmaker who becomes angry about how people are constantly pressured to present a perfect life online. Because that frustration is active within them, they start noticing things that may have, they may have previously overlooked, right? Staged happiness, curated identities, people performing confidence while privately struggling, right? So these things are what's being noticed, right? About how people are basically, how creatives are being pressured to present like a perfect life online, right? In which we all know that that's that is a myth, right? There's nobody that's truly just living a perfect life. It may be from a lot of people's perception of how you see things online. It may look like it's perfect. It may look like the ideal thing, right? But in all, right, we all understand that this is social media. We all understand that this is what's online. We all understand that this video right now that's playing right now, right? I'm only showing you what I actually want you to see, right? Rather than seeing my whole bathroom, this whole room that I'm in right now. If you didn't know that, like all of these videos has been being created inside of my bathroom, right? But this is all you see, right? Outside of this, it could be a bunch of stuff. It could be a whole zoo behind me right now or on the sides of me right now, right? But as I was saying though, right, we understand that nothing is truly perfect behind the camera or outside of this video, right? So staged happiness, right, of how Creatives can be online, portraying happiness, portraying a perception of happiness, right? Curated identities, right? Being having personas and stuff when you're on the camera, right? Being a specific person when you're on the camera, right? Showing a certain side of you when you're on the camera. People performing confidence while privately struggling, right? I'm portraying more confidence on camera, but then when I get off the camera, I'm going through a bunch of things in life, right? As a creative and everything, you could be going through all types of things, right? But then on that camera, that's just what it is, basically seeming of how all creatives just have to be perfect, and that's not what it is, right? Their attention has become tuned to something, right? The attention has become tuned to this thing of what a creative is actually supposed to be, right? So we're going into lens 2, what anger makes you create against, right? So now we just went from lens 1 of what anger makes you see, right? Once you see that thing of how people are pressured to present of being perfect online, right? You start to understand that as a filmmaker, as a creative yourself. You just like, hold on, y'all. Like, yeah, I know that's not true. Like that's not the thing that what it actually is, right? We're creatives, right? So we're not meant to always be perfect, right? And so now we're going to see what that creates or what that makes you create against, right? Anger once anger identifies something to oppose, it can give creativity direction, right? The creator begins creating against something, proving a limitation wrong, right? Of how everything is just supposed to be perfect. You have to be this one thing, right? You're creating against the idea that that's all it is, right? Challenging an expectation, the expectation of having it to be like this. It needs to be like that. It has to be like this. It has to be like that, right? Exposing something, exposing what things truly can be like, exposing what a creative is truly supposed to be, right? What the reality of a creator is, right? Rebelling against an idea, right? Understanding that we're far more than just these things. Going back into that example of the filmmaker, right? That same filmmaker doesn't stop noticing performative happiness, right? They create a short film where every character appears to have a perfect life, right? But the evidence, right? But the evidence, no. So they create a short film where every character appears to have a perfect life, but the audience gradually sees the private reality underneath each person's performance, right? So instead of keeping it as what people believe, the perception of what people believe that a creative is supposed to be just online, right? You show a creative that is portraying the perfect life, but understanding that on the side and stuff, like you're kind of giving a glimpse of how what is really like even outside of that camera, right? Now their anger has moved from perception to production, right? So now it's not just something that you just see from just the perception of just what you believe it is. Now we're putting it into the production of how this can move from something that we're angry about to something that we're putting into the way that you create. You're taking that anger and you're molding that emotion into the way that you create, right? So they're not simply seeing something they dislike anymore. They're using creativity to confront it, right? So you're using that anger to confront something creatively, right? That anger, it could be towards anything. It couldn't just be like, it doesn't have to be just towards this example. It could be towards anything, right? What happens when you're angry? When you're angry, right? What are things that you're thinking about, right? What is it that you're actually angry about, right? What is the solution? Like, what's on the other end of you being angry? Okay, you're angry about something. What's the solution to that, right? So let's just say it's a situation that happened, and what the other side of you being angry is the next person being able to understand. So now you're creating, right, the production that you're bringing forth, and how you're taking your creativity and moving it through that anger to get to that understanding is how you show that, right? Alrighty, guys, so we're on to lens 3, right? What anger makes you become attached to, right? Because we already went over lens 1, what anger makes you see. Lens 2, what anger makes you create against, right? So we're on to lens 3, what anger makes you become attached to. The creator may eventually become attached to the version of themselves that anger produces, right? So talking about what anger makes you create against, of understanding the things that or the box that the creative is put in, right? The certain expectations, the certain perception that is looked upon of the creator, of the creative, right? So now once you understand how to take that anger and use it in a creative way to be able to get the point across, or be able to get the perception that you want across, right, through that, right? So now becoming attached to what that anger makes you become when you use that creatively, right? Or what that anger produces out of you, right? That could be a fighter, that could be a challenger, that can be a rebel, that can be a disruptor, that can be a truth teller, a survivor, right? Now the question is, who have they learned to be because they are angry? Or who have you learned to be because you are angry, right? All right, so now we're back to that filmmaker, right? Years later, the filmmaker has built an entire creative identity around exposing artificiality. Their work is respected specifically because they're willing to challenge people, call things out, and expose what others avoid, right? So understanding, once that's the thing, right, you eventually discover something new, right? They discover something new. Not everything that they want to create is about the fight. Not everything is about a tussle, about a tug of war, right? Suddenly they encounter an unexpected creative problem. Who am I, or who are you when you're not fighting something, right? The anger that once helped them see gave them something to create against, and what they repeatedly created against helped construct a creative identity, right? So that attachment became from something that helps you to see down to something that helps you create against something, down to something that helps you become, or helps you to have a creative identity, right? But understanding ways to be able to utilize that through emotion creatively, right? So being able to understand the attachment that you have to the anger, wanting it to be more pro than con, right? Rather than using the anger to lash out and destroy, and to just pick apart things, right? And just pick at stuff, right? Be the person of negative energy. You're turning that energy into something positive, into something that people can learn from, into a way to be able to express yourself in a way to where you turn that anger into a solution of the perception that you want people to see, of a certain understanding that you want people to get to of what that anger does to you, right? Or how you got to that anger, right? But yeah, just going back over that, the anger that once helped them see gave them something to create against, and what they repeatedly created against helped construct a creative identity, guys. So we're going through the understanding of not just fear. This could be any emotion, right? But we're going through the ways of how it helped you to see, right? What it helped you to create against what it helped you to create against when going through that emotion, right? And the identity, the creative identity that it gave you, right? When flowing through that emotion and using it in a creative way, right? Because this is what, truly what we want to be able to do through the emotion, right? As a creative, we are people that feel deep. We are people that feel truly, right? And so understanding how to be able to feel in a way that's creative, right? In a way that's understanding, right? And not always being understanding, because we're not perfect, right? So everything that we create, every idea that we come out with, it's not going to be something that everyone is just going to understand. That's not the point. The point is the fact that sometimes you're not going to be able to understand it. But that's the key. That's the art. That's the beautiful part about art and being a creative, right? So yeah, guys, we could just take this attachment to fear and put that into a different emotion, right? So take not fear, anger. Sorry about that, but attachment to anger, right? But just take that and just replace that emotion with a different emotion and see how that works for you, right? See how that rolls out for you. Ways to be able to plug and play and create through these emotions, understanding how to see through them, understanding how to create against it, understanding the identity, the creative identity that thing gives to you, right? And guys, come back to the comments and everything. Leave things in the comments of anything about this point that you have questions about, that you rock with, that you align with, right? If you got people that are dealing into this emotion or any certain emotion that's wanting to understand how to move through that creatively, right? You can bring them to the page, right? Create a conversation in the comments. Guys, leave a like, subscribe. You know what I mean? If you mess with these points that we've been talking about, if you mess with this topic that we've been talking about the past videos, right? Let's continue to create this movement and continue to grow and expand and become better creatives within ourselves, right? But until the next one, though, guys, peace.